Um, so, thank you for agreeing to be a part of the Digital Hub project. Just to give you some background and introduce what it's about, it's sponsored by the Institute of Coding, whose sort of objective is to break down barriers to digital learning and employment, more generally speaking. But through that, Digital Her has a focus on young girls and women looking to start their careers and are thinking about their options. And so through talking to people like yourself, we want to inform and educate all the very different roles that are in the tech and digital sector. So to start, could you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what it is you do?
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Joyann Boyce. I am the founder of The Social Detail, which is a digital marketing agency that specializes in inclusive marketing. What I do, a lot of things, but mainly it's advocating for inclusive marketing, training others, and I'm currently in the process of building a software to help people create inclusive content.
Yeah, nice. So what skills do you use the most in your job? See, this is probably a bit varied question for you.
I think being organized in anything related to marketing is a must, especially with social media stuff. That's one of the biggest skills. Then communication is also a must, written and verbal, constantly meeting with people, constantly explaining things that are sometimes simple to me, but complicated to others. Mm-hmm. And creativity, but I would say creativity is probably the one I thought I would use the most, but the one I use the least.
Yeah.
Because a lot of things are rinse and repeat. Okay, change one word, change one color, rinse and repeat.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean, for sure. So could you tell us about how your journey began back in education days? Did you have an idea of what you would be up to now?
No. So it took a bit of a roller coaster. College, I was studying, I found out I was dyslexic in secondary school, college. And then I wanted to study sociology and psychology. But when I found out I was dyslexic and I did really, really bad on my first year exams, a teacher said to me, "Oh, you should do art subjects. That's better for dyslexics."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, you're the teacher, you know best." So I switched from sociology, psychology, and science to fashion art and textiles, which I did enjoy, but I got a CDD, so I didn't do that great at it either. And then I wasn't sure if I wanted to go to university or not because I was convinced that I wouldn't be able to do well in uni.
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't be able to get into university. So I never actually applied to any unis. And I was like ready to go and start this career of making things for people and selling things. But the problem is I hated making things for people. I only like making things for myself. So I rang up a university during clearing and I was like, "Hey, I've got GCSEs. Can I come to the university to study psychology?" And they were like, "Yeah, cool. Do you want to start next year?" And I was like, "Yeah." And that was it. So I never went through UCAS. I didn't do any of the letter stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, I was really surprised. And then it turned out to be a really good university for psychology, University of East London.
Yeah.
So I was just like, you guys accepted me without any like valid A levels, but okay.
Rate that.
Took a year out. Took a year out and ran a sweet shop for a year. So that's where I got my money management skills from.
Nice.
You know, you got to figure out how much sweets weigh. Like, that's really important. And fun side note, like, sweets don't really expire.
Yeah. Ooh.
Like, it's really disgusting, though, because they just told us to, like, flip it and put the new stuff on the bottom. And then, yeah, the unpopular sweets were there for a while. Let's just say that. But then I moved to London to study psychology, and I did that for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I was very set that I was going to be a clinical psychologist until I found out in probably my final year that I would need to give 7 years of my life to the NHS to become a clinical psychologist. And I was just like, I don't know. So I found this course, or this like volunteer, where you can go volunteer in a psychiatric hospital in a foreign country.
Yeah.
So I went after graduation. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go do this 3-month program, and if I love it, I'll become a clinical psychologist.
Yeah.
So I went to Sri Lanka for 3 months. I didn't love it, but it was an experience.
Yeah.
It kind of made me realize how wide psychology is, because we have like issues with the NHS here, but in Sri Lanka, they have 6 psychiatrists for the whole island.
Ooh, okay.
And the island is I think it's like twice the size of Ireland here. So it's a lot of people. But that 3 months, I kind of got the traveling bug, and I was like, okay, don't want to do that, but I want to see the world.
Yeah.
Then I went to see the world for 3 years.
Oh, wow. That's very cool. Did you
on and off? I went to,
Did you get to see a lot of the world then?
Not as much as I would like. I went to, there was Sri Lanka, then there was Ghana, then I did Brazil for 6 months. That was amazing. Paraguay, Bolivia, the Caribbean, because I'm originally from there. But then I dislocated my elbow in Bolivia, so I couldn't continue.
Yeah.
Well, I could, but I'm a wimp. I've never broken any bones.
Nor have I, actually.
So I came back and I was like, okay, time to be an adult now. I'm like, how old was I? I was like 25. I'm like, yes, this is time to be an adult. What do adults do? They make money. So I got into recruitment.
Yeah.
I did make money, but I sold my soul for it.
Yeah. Seems to be a common.
But yeah, in recruitment, it definitely is. But it exposed me to LinkedIn. Yeah. So that's when I got exposed to social media, and that's when I started helping like charities and businesses, and left recruitment and went through the Princess Trust, and they helped me start a business. And then that's when, so we're just about up to date now.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, so that's 2017. I started the business through the Princess Trust by accident, because I didn't actually want to. But they were like, you can't get hired doing it, so why don't you just do it and get people to pay you? I was like, okay.
Pretty solid advice. Seems to have worked out well.
It worked.
So, wow, yeah, that's an interesting like route into tech. So the next question is, was there anything that inspired you to go into tech? Had you thought about it before?
Hindsight, looking back, I think I was always techie.
Yeah.
Like I used to get before Sims was what it is now, the game. Yeah. I had the original Sims on a CD, like when they did it, and
yeah,
I used to love like building worlds. And then there's a story of one of my mum's friends where he was like, I took apart his car radio when I was like 9, and I put it back together. I have no recollection of this, but he swears by it. He was like, yep. That's when I knew you were going to be great. I was like, okay, it was a car radio.
That's hilarious. Humble beginnings.
It's just, yeah. But I would say what has led me to like now probably has been being exposed to different types of tech and going to like meetup events and just seeing that it's more than just like, coding and the matrix and... So that was probably over the 3 years of running the business. I was just going to more and more events, working with more organizations. I was like, you know what? This is my jam. This is I enjoy this. I get it.
Yeah, for sure. That's nice. So what are the challenges you have faced along the way? Whether this be sort of like more business technical challenges with, being a founder, or anything to do with more personal journey?
So it's always a mixture of things. I think the biggest challenge, and I've come to realize this not myself, has been undervaluing my skills and underpricing myself. So that's like my biggest mantra now. I'm always telling any entrepreneurs, particularly people of color and women, to up their prices. I'm just like, I don't know what your rate is, but double it, because it's probably too low.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge, and I'm still learning every day on that journey. The other challenge was probably balancing wanting to do all the things, because I'm used to being a doer, and having to accept that there are people who do it better. They don't do it the way you want them to do it.
Yeah.
Because you have your own way of doing things, but there are people out there who will do it and get the results done. So yeah, that's a continuous personal journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
She says, while trying to learn code at the same time. I'm like, I know there are people, but I want to do it. I think in terms of with tech and with marketing and being in a digital space, a challenge, but also a blessing, is how quickly things change. And I think that's something you have to embrace.
Yeah.
And it's the thing I love and hate at the same time. I was given a workshop on social media basics the other day, and literally during the workshop, Instagram updated. So like my slides were out of date.
No way. That's an unfortunate coincidence.
Like literally someone on the call was like, oh, it doesn't look like that anymore. I'm like, what do you mean? So I stopped the whole thing, and I love it because at the same time it shows that, you know, everything I'm saying about you need to be on top of things yourself with social is valid.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that is just like quite a nice image of like literally how quick things change. For sure. So obviously a lot of your career is focused on helping out with making things more inclusive. What do you think the tech community should be doing to continue on this journey of diversity and inclusion?
So going back to what I said earlier, money, you know, invest, because it's like any other business initiative. My focus is on the marketing side of things. So a lot of companies, they say one thing in their values, they say one thing when Black History Month or Women's History Month comes along, but when you look at their marketing content throughout the year, there's not representation, there's not highlighting, there's not accessibility. So I would say the one thing the tech community could do, and tech companies, is embed diversity and inclusion into your quarterly business plans like you would with any other initiative. So if you're planning to increase sales, or you're planning to increase development of the software, or you're planning to have another sprint that specializes on this tool, have a sprint that specializes on D&I. Have a sprint that's like, okay, so what's the goal we're going to achieve? How are we going to do it? Let's do it next, and keep building with it. It's not a host one conference and done. It's an ongoing initiative.
Yeah, for sure. How do you think that, how do you think we're doing as a community? Do you think, well, I mean, it's a bit of a silly question to say, are we doing enough? Because it's quite a short answer to that.
I think as much as a curse 2020 has been, it has also been somewhat of a blessing to open a lot of people's eyes. So I think compared to 2019, this year, what the tech community is doing, how they're realizing what needs to be done, is good. It's better. It's at a place where someone like myself, when I go and talk about inclusive marketing, before I would spend the whole conversation talking about why it's important. Now I spend the conversation with the action points, because they already get the why it's important. Took them years before I started. Before, I think back when Ada Lovelace started, it took them a while to know. But I think that's the thing. The pivots that are happening now are definitely about action and accountability. And I think that's a good movement. And I hope we continue on that path.
Yeah, for sure. So what is your favorite thing about working in the tech and digital sector?
The rabbit holes.
Yeah.
This is a random statement, rabbit holes. But like how deep everything goes.
Yeah.
Just for social in general, whenever I'm teaching social media, people are like, oh, there's analytics. There's analytics to Twitter. Oh, you can run a Twitter ad campaign. You can track, and like the rabbit holes and rabbit holes. And then in tech in general, I'm learning a lot about machine learning and the different types and data sets. And it's just, you can go down a journey and end up somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like that's what I enjoy the most. And it's forever a mystery, forever growing. I don't think anyone who works in tech or digital could ever say that they're bored. And if they are, they're not doing anything.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Did you say that you're doing a master's in data science? What has
Starting it.
Starting it? When are you starting it?
January.
Nice. What how are you feeling about that?
I'm super looking forward to it.
Oh.
No, I'm really excited because like it's one of those weird ones. Like I've done a lot. I've gone to the University of YouTube, and I feel like I've learned everything about machine learning I could.
Yeah.
And I need to actually know the fundamentals now. This is the one time I'm like, okay, yeah, doing a course makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, for example, I studied psychology at university, and that is not marketing. I didn't need to study marketing to do marketing. You can learn it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some things that I'm just like, okay, I've hit a wall. I need a bigger computer. I need to figure out why it does this thing, and I don't understand. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for that part, the
Yeah.
experiment, to be an evil genius.
For sure. Yeah, it's really cool. And it's like, I think it's inspiring as well to know that you can do something in like your undergrad and just end up in like a completely different place. Like I think a lot of graduates are like, okay, so like I personally know some people who have done sort of random degrees and they're looking to like go into marketing. And she was saying to me like, oh, I'm really surprised like how you don't need a marketing degree to do these things. And it's like, no, yeah, you can move away from like what you did in your degree. That's not like the end point. Things can definitely evolve.
That's the number one thing I learned. Bar a few careers like lawyers and doctors and stuff.
Yeah.
Most of the time, people don't care what you did in your degree. They just care you have one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I would be prepping people who would graduate from all these universities, and the client on the other end would be like, "Oh, but they have a degree. Cool." They don't even know. They don't even care what grade it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just want to know that you went through some kind of commitment, that you stuck at something for 3 years, basically, is what a degree earns, especially in tech and digital. You can learn so much on your own. You can learn so much from boot camps. You can learn so much from like just knocking about on the internet.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And like through talking to different people in this as well, I don't think I've spoken to someone yet who has had like a direct, clear like career path that it makes sense on what they did in their degree to what they're doing now. And I just think I think that's like such a positive thing though, because if you talk to everyone and they were like, yes, so I knew what I was doing when I was 16 and I've had it all mapped out. It's like, no one does. It's okay.
Oh, 16-year-old me thought by the age of 30 she'd have 2 kids, a house, and would be, creating art all over the world. Like, she was very wrong. Very wrong.
Yeah. Definitely. So can you tell us a bit about the next project you're embarking on with creating this software? How much can you tell us?
So, just a little, just teeny.
Yeah.
The basic idea is that there's a lot of things I do when I do inclusive marketing audits that I thought a machine could pick up. Mm-hmm. Like counting how many people are on a company's website and what the percentage representation of that is. So it's a tool that's going to do that and a few other things to give companies a kind of inclusive marketing digital footprint so they can see where they stand. Because as the saying goes, what doesn't get measured doesn't get changed. Well, I think that's what the saying goes. But yeah, we're past the point of good intentions with diversity and inclusion, and with marketing, it's one of the most tangible areas. You can look at a campaign and see if it's representative. It's people. You're putting, like, especially with makeup and clothing, you're clothing people. Some of those people may be Black and brown. Some of those people may be disabled. Some of those people may be pregnant, plus size. Like, if some of them are likely to be buying your clothes, why not represent them in the marketing? So it's going to help push that.
Yeah, nice. That's really cool. Yeah, so to wrap things up, what would the piece of advice that you would give to young girls, women, or, to be fair, anyone sort of looking at a career change and considering breaking into the tech sector?
I guess you don't need someone to hold the door open for you. You can get started now, would probably be my thing. Like, if you're watching this on a phone or a laptop, hop onto YouTube, University. I keep calling it University of YouTube.
I like that.
Hop onto YouTube, type in like data science basics and start thinking about it. I think, and it's still very prevalent in society when girls have like big ambitions or techie, or that's not the norm for girls, they get held back. But I'm just like, just build your own bridge. Start now.
Yeah.
And you can make a lot more mistakes now than when you're my age.
Yeah, the experimental period for sure. Yeah, just do it. Great.
Anything, literally anything. And you don't have to stick with it. That's the other thing I would say. I'm at the time of recording this 29, and I've been through various things I thought I wanted to do and wanted to be, and that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. I also think that's like more interesting as well. I mean, I don't know about you, but I do something for a little while and then feel like I want to move on to something different. Like, I think the idea of having one career that spans your whole life is kind of archaic now. Like, you're gonna do more than just one thing, and it's exciting.
It is, and it keeps that's what keeps people, like, going and living in their hundreds, and their brain is still active. That's the main thing.
Yeah,
they're very present, and they're very like, I don't care about the young people, but drink a wine and go out for my walk. This is what I think 100-year-old me is going to be doing.
Sounds pretty good. Thank you so much for talking with me today. It's been really interesting hearing about your journey.
Should I clap? Is that how it